Brought to you by Lister Pros TV, streaming from Tempe, Arizona. And we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, Jordan Nielsen here, host of Real Estate Pros on Lister Pros TV, and today we're in studio with Michelle Whaler of Realty One Group. Waller.
Yes.
Dang it!
It's all right.
I knew it.
It's all right.
Dang it! There's no I.
No.
All right, Michelle Waller. Let's redo it. Realty One Group. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and joining me here on Real Estate Pros.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll give you a couple minutes to introduce yourself. You got a diverse background in the real estate realm of things, so give us a couple minute or just an introduction, what interested you in the real estate industry, how long you've been in it,
Okay.
et cetera, et cetera.
Nice. Well, I've been in the industry for about 15 years. Love the industry. I love how it's changing and how it's just different every day, people and houses and everything. So about 15 years ago, I was working at a doctor's office, and the lady next to me was making 25 cents more an hour than I was. And she was really...
You were jealous, right? Like, oh my gosh, no way.
And I was like, I'm going to go become an appraiser. I didn't know any appraisers. I didn't know anything about really, real estate, although my family was part of, we build houses and commercial properties and things like that. But it was when I was younger. So I went down to the school and I said, I'm going to become an appraiser. And the requirements are crazy to become an appraiser. So I looked at the requirements and I was like, looked at the real estate agent requirements and I said, I'm going to become an agent. So I did my agency. That was when the market was pretty crazy. Learned a lot, loved it, but I also knew I didn't like that side as much as I liked the analytical and the thought process of the appraising. So I went back and got my appraisal license, and now I do both. So been in, like I said, about 15 years. And so then met my husband, and he has very, very handy. I always tease him because I say, you're like the Chip and the Joanna, of our house flipping business, because we flip houses too. And he'll go in and he'll go, oh, well, this color and this style. And then I go in and I just tweak it a little bit. But he's, like I said, like the Chip and the Joanna.
You guys consider your reality show? It seems like that's popular these days.
Yes.
Flipping houses.
Yeah.
And
we're waiting for them to call us
all right.
for the reality show.
HGTV will call you sometime.
Yeah. But so we flip houses too, and I love that. And having that background with that being an agent and the appraiser, of course, helps in that. So, and I also do education. I do classes, teach classes to agents, because I think it's so important for agents and appraisers to work together. Like, everyone knows so much information. It's like, let's just share it and be nice to each other. So I have a CE class that I teach, and I also do a lot of lunch and learns, and just any chance I can get to help educate agents. And I always learn stuff too. So
are there specific brokerages you always teach or you work with a title company, or how does that work?
A lot of times title will contact me, and then they set it up with whoever brokerage or lender that they're working with. So
cool.
I'm not biased. I'm open for whatever. So
So you're not Realty One Group exclusive, I guess, on the education side of things.
No, but that is my broker.
So we'll talk about all three of these topics today. Sorry, I just went on an education tangent, but let's talk about appraising first.
Okay.
What are some common misconceptions or things that agents should know, or maybe things that homeowners can do before selling their house that maybe could help the appraisal? What do appraisers look for?
You just asked me like 20 questions.
I know, I asked you like 20 questions. Dang it.
Let's narrow it down.
Right,
okay, so one thing homeowners can do is, I always tell them, I'm like, you want the appraiser to come in and feel good about the house. I think people don't realize the feeling that your house gets, how important that is, and you would present your home differently if it was a potential buyer as to an appraiser, and you shouldn't. I always have my house clean and smelling good and just like it was a potential buyer coming in. So there's times I'll go into houses and there's laundry everywhere. It doesn't look like anyone's cleaned. It doesn't, and it just doesn't feel good. So I always put my best foot forward, especially with that. So homeowners.
So dirty houses minus $5,000.
Yeah. Some of them it could be more.
Bad feeling.
But it does, and it's just like a buyer. A buyer goes in, you want them to feel good. So definitely clean up, have it feeling good, and have a list of upgrades or anything like condition improvements that you've done in the house. Give that to the appraiser, and just be nice. Like there's sometimes I feel like I go into a house and I'm putting the homeowner off because of, I don't know, whatever happened that day. But it's like, just be nice to me and be forthcoming in the information, and and don't lie, because we always find out. It's pretty evident. So that's for the homeowners. For the agents, whether you're a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, it's like, talk to the appraiser. A lot of people think you can't talk to them. And even before the huge crash, you could always talk to them. It's just you're not allowed to pressure them. Big difference. But a lot of buyer's agents, like they've been in some of the other houses that we are analyzing as potential comparables. And you could say, this is why we didn't put an offer in on this house, or this is why we did, because it's similar to the house that you're appraising.
Right.
So, but definitely talk to them and give them the information that you have. And there's times I even ask for information and I get nothing. Like they ignore me or.
So when you do appraisals, hold on, what was I going to ask? So when you do appraisals, is it, man, why did I lose my train of thought on the question I was going to ask you around appraising? No. Okay, this is what it was. So when you do appraisals, when you go in, do you already know like what purchase contract pricing is and stuff like that? And do you kind of work with that, or do they like kind of keep that separate? You don't know, and you just do your appraisal? Because I guess potentially that could influence you as an appraiser. Is there anything against that, or do you know?
Correct, and I agree with you. But why I think it's important to know the contract price is, say you're selling your house at $500,000, you have a contract at $500,000. It gives me an idea of what a buyer. Now, it's not a typical buyer. An appraisal is what a typical buyer would pay for the subject, which is the house you're appraising. But it gives you somewhat of an idea. You start to know real quick if it's a typical buyer or not. So there's also, like, if it's at $500,000 and my range is maybe you're around, $498 to, $503. It's like it's still within the range, and that's what I teach the agents. I'm like, you don't need to know. A lot of people do pre-appraisals for the listing. So if I do a pre-appraisal and I have a appraised value at $500, I go, but what if your seller wants to sell it at $525? Then you can't do anything with the $500,000 appraisal. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I teach, just know the range and make sure you're within that range. Now, I had one a couple days ago where the sales price and contract price was at $500, but the highest sale in the last year was $450. Oh
gosh.
But see, they don't see that, and then they start pulling sales like way far away, trying to hit that value. So it's a great question, and yes, but no. If you're a professional, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess that's part of your job as a real estate agent, to kind of get a feel for looking at comps and what should we list the property for. Are there any suggestions from an appraiser standpoint that could help agents value properties or help?
Yes, yeah. So the first question I ask when I do a training or a class, I go, how were you taught to do market research?
They got that
Nothing.
cloud CMA, right?
Yes, that's a whole other conversation. We'll be back for that conversation. Yeah. So, but yeah, and like there is professional training out there, but no one does it. And I'm like, what other industry can you be responsible for somebody's life savings or hundreds of thousands of dollars and actually have no training? I mean, really.
Right.
And it's to me, it's a little embarrassing as far as the industry goes, but I'm out there trying to educate so we can raise that standard. So first, what I do, and this will just be a real quick breakdown, It's like start small. You look in the subdivision. I go 3 months back, and I do 15% of the gross livable area, which is GLA. If I can't find anything, I expand from that. And you can usually see what the market area is. Like usually there's some type of, whether it's that city or some type of geographical boundary or school zone, or, you can figure it out. And I always think from me, as an appraiser, I go, would I lend my money on this? That's how I think. Like, do I feel confident? Because, the client is the lender, but it's still someone's money, and I'm like, would I feel comfortable lending money on this? And if at the $500,000 I don't, then I look and I see why. And you just have to, I always say we don't have to agree, because I meet the appraisers when we're selling our houses. I meet the appraiser and I say, we don't have to agree, but here's my information on how I came up with $500,000. So I always give them something, because, that's what I do.
Sure,
and I think it's important, and I think every agent should always be proactive in that, and not after the appraisal's done, because that's so many times I get it afterwards. I'm like, I already asked you, 3 weeks ago, why are you coming now? Now it didn't hit your contract price. And I love it when I always see, like, online or on the Facebook groups, that it'll say, we have another appraisal issue. And I'm like, well, why is it an appraisal issue? Why isn't it a list price issue?
Right.
It's like,
let's
why?
pass the boat. The appraisal didn't like me.
Yeah. So, but it's like, give the information. And there's so many times I don't get any information. And then there's times I get information that doesn't make sense.
So how long have you been an appraiser?
God, I've been in the industry for about 15 years,
Okay.
so maybe
you've
like
been through
12.
the turn. So
Yes.
is appraising different in 2018 than it was in 2009?
I was more of a newer appraiser at that point. So for me, it is different, just because my analytical skills are
It's like
awesome.
the market's going down, so we got to be more conservative. Or now it's like, oh, the market's going up, we don't have to be as conservative on our figure. Or is there anything like that? Or are you just looking at it, pause time, this is what it looks like?
It's as of the effective date, which is the day of the appraisal. Like the day I went out and saw the property, it's as of that. Because people are like, well, look where it's going. Well, it doesn't matter where it's going, because I'm not a fortune teller.
Sure.
It's as of that date, and it has to be for the prior year. There are market areas that are going down. Like my analysis will show it's going down. There's some that are stable, because you can't just look from the last month or 2 months. We have to look for the entire year, because you can take any snapshot of a year and make it look either good or bad.
Sure.
So, but yeah, it is. What else is different is when it was going crazy, we were putting so much emphasis on the actives and pendings, because it was going up so quickly. So that is different. I haven't seen that since then, of course, but it is important to know, what it's law of substitution. If I can buy your house for $500,000, why would I buy it if the house next door is for $450,000?
Right.
So it's like. Also,
I was going to ask you, because we talked a little bit prior about appraisals and doing the pre-listing appraisal. Isn't an appraisal good for like 6 months or something like that? Or is there this is what I was going to figure out, because I'm just curious. Is there a database, like somebody did an appraisal, it's kind of low, now it's in this database. Now from an appraiser, if you're going in after it's contracted, you're contracted by the lending company. Is that in a system where you're looking at it, or is that kind of like just independent for the home seller buyer?
So a pre-listing is the client, sometimes it's the agent, sometimes it's the owner. Okay. For lending purposes, it's the lender is the client. So they have it, and it doesn't go into a system.
Okay,
like
there's
B
not
of
like
A
a system like, oh my gosh, they said it's 500, now they want, 520, or however we're talking about.
So no, although I do think Fannie Mae is going a little more towards that, but no, there isn't, because B of A is not talking to Wells Fargo. And a lot of times, if someone's done, like if I did a appraisal for like Quicken Loans, then someone else, it transfers, because the buyer went with a different lender, they can transfer it over to them.
Oh, gotcha.
The only thing that would stick would be like an FHA, because it's got an FHA number and it's there for 6 months. But that doesn't mean they still wouldn't get another one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I'm not totally crazy by thinking something like that.
Well, we won't talk about the craziness, but yes.
Cool, but I think you mentioned, one of your favorite things is flipping, right?
Yes.
Flipping houses, and you have a different perspective because you are an appraiser as well. So I guess What are those things that you can do on a flipping standpoint that really where you get good ROI from a flipper, from an appraisal, right? So in a hot market like this, you can typically sell it for about what it would appraise for. You buy a home low, or they're do countertops or something. What are those things that you do or not do when you're flipping a house because it's not going to add much value to it?
There's so many things I see.
Is there?
So many. So it really depends on the market area. So we'll just talk in general terms because I know I'll have somebody come up on Facebook and go, that's not true. So number one, the shows on HGTV and such. They're
drama, right?
Yeah, and it's so unrealistic. There's times where they're like, oh, we bought this house 2 months ago. We finished it, and the comps at that time were this amount, but in 2 months, oh, we're going to make another $50,000 because it's got, it's so unrealistic. And I love Chip and Joanna, love them, but a lot of that custom stuff they do is not taken into consideration when they say we've done 150,000, and then they have this huge custom door. It doesn't happen. How we're a little different is my husband does a lot of the design and he does a lot of the work. So he will do one house we grinded all the block outside to get the aggregate, but it took him and the guy that works for us 4 days. A normal flipper can't do that because it just doesn't make sense. But because he can do it himself, we can do that. So it's exciting, and he's real creative, and so that feeds his soul that way. So it's fun. But the other thing is I've seen these people go to a 3-day weekend workshop, and they think they're going to make a shitload of money. Oh, sorry. They're going to make a ton of money. and I've gone into either buy the house because they get stuck or appraise it. And they've taken out their 401k. This one lady took out $125 out of her retirement because she's going to make so much money. She knows nothing. The wholesaler, I saw the tax records, the wholesaler bought it. It was one wholesaler bought it, flipped it to another wholesaler. It's all in the same day. Then she bought it, and it was 25, 30, increments higher.
Gosh.
She bought it. Her mentor hooked her up with a contractor, and contractors, that's tough. It's hard to find people that are good and can work and do a really good job, especially now because everyone's so busy and it's so expensive. Her contractor, they put in $40,000. It was 6 months because he kept getting sick things kept happening. She goes, I just want out. And she wanted to get out at $240 because that's where she was at. And Ryan, my husband, goes, I'll give you $180. She bought it for $190, and he goes, I have to take everything out because it wasn't the right style, wasn't the right colors. In the kitchen, there was a vanity cabinet instead of kitchen cabinets because it was just one on the side, and he just put that in instead of matching it. I see so much of that. It's really, it does break my heart. And I get excited as an appraiser when I see a top of the market. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go see a great house. And there's so many times I'm like, they didn't do this. Didn't do that, which is okay, but don't expect to get top of the market.
Right.
So I do see, some weird things I want to say that, when you stucco a fence, a block fence, it's so expensive. You're not going to get it back. Now, if you've got $1 million house, it doesn't matter, but we're saying typical. I'll see stucco fences, and you're not getting. One guy paid, it was $10,000. This was a couple years ago. It'd probably be more 15 now. In Scottsdale, but he thought it made his house worth $10,000 more, and it didn't.
A fence is a fence.
Yeah, and it looked good, but it's also a lot of upkeep. Stucco is kind of a pain in the butt. So it was a lot of upkeep. The flow, flow is huge right now. People want more of the open concept. I saw a huge wine room, kind of instead of opening up it was a small living space, and instead of opening it up, they put a wine room in it, and it was really cool, crazy expensive because it had its own condenser and everything. It was beautiful, but the living space was so small, and it took up it blocked that flow. So I'm curious to see what happens with that house, but it was just, I see interesting stuff all the time. So, or putting granite, really nice granite on.
Recent flips that you've gone into appraise?
Just over the years, yeah. I see so many things. Or putting...
Hey, they're wanting to impress the appraiser as they walk in. Look at this wine. And you're like, the living room's tiny, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah. And I know their buyers are going to feel that too. Unless it's, maybe an older couple that, but it's not going to be like a family because of the living space and then the wine. And it's a huge wine room, like the size of this. Like it was big with its own condenser. I mean, it was pretty crazy. Or I also see like granite on old oak cabinets. That I see a lot too. So, but it's like you walk in, you're like, you paid $8,000 for your granite, but it doesn't matter because you just old 80s, So, but nothing's wrong with the cabinets. I get that, but don't expect to get, any value out of what you did, but it's really what you didn't do, which was the cabinets. So
in that case, could they have painted the cabinets?
It would have been better.
I guess
yes.
It would. All right.
Would have been better. But you got to think also a lot of it, like now it's the like more the shaker. I mean, you would probably need new faces because a lot of the older have like
right.
Yeah.
Like a arcing.
See,
like
it's little things.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah, but when you look at it every day, and especially being an appraiser, I go into houses that are flips, and I have to see why this flip went for more than this flip. And when we're flipping houses, we need to see where our price point is and what we can sell it for. Now, if we do this, are we at this end of the spectrum or are we at this end of the spectrum? You just got to find your range and where you are in that range, even for real estate agents. And that's basically what I teach. It's like, find your range.
So you teach all this education-wise.
Yes.
So, so what? I mean, we could do like an ending plug here for you, but what is it? But I mean, you do so much. Like, I guess do people reach out for you for everything, or you have partnerships on the appraisal side of things? You work with do you work with traditional real estate buyers and sellers?
Yeah.
And then you also do education. So if a broker would it be a title partner there? Anyways.
Yes. And they just find me online. So just look
How do people
online,
find you?
Michelle Waller. The appraisal company is Advanced Professional Appraisers. We also have the flipping company is Flippin' Worth It. Like, is it flippin' worth it? And I've kind of expanded that because there's so many things out there where I'm like, this isn't flippin' worth it. Or I'll see it on TV, and I've been filming for the flip shows where I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, he's using an electrical tool and it's a plumbing issue. Like, we see crazy stuff that all the time.
Like,
yeah.
For the drama of the show.
Yes.
The electrical tool makes more noise. So let's do that instead.
But they can find me on Facebook. Michelle
Waller.
Waller. Yeah, Realty One Group. I have people contact me all the time. So
cool.
And if you have a quick question, like I drive a lot, I'll have agents call me. They're like, hey, how would you handle this? Or, we can help with that. We also bill, and you can hire us for like 30-minute increments. We can go into houses and be like that neutral third party if you're having problems, like getting them to clean up the house, or if they really need to, get rid of the carpet. And you as the agent don't want to be like your cat, smelling carpet really needs to go. It's like, let us come in and be that neutral third party. So we do a lot of that.
So in that case, are you going in as like a consultant or like a pre-appraiser? How?
I'll go in as a consultant.
I see value in that for sure. So like a home consultant, or
yes,
how does that look?
Yeah. So you just hire us. We go out. Different ways. We come out and we can put together something on how to, like a report on how to get the most value for your home. So sometimes it's the carpet. Sometimes it's so small. I had one client who, it was $2,500. That was it. And all the numbers supported, she should have gotten $200,000 for her condo. And I'm like, I don't get it. So we go in and I was like, oh, now I get it. And it was $2,500 for her to do a couple of things. That weekend, she got 3 offers because she just had to tweak. It was the feeling. The feeling, and it looked good and stuff, but it just, some things needed to be tweaked. A lot of times it's like painting the red wall, or hey, if you put, I just had a listing. I helped somebody out and I was the agent on it. And he hired me as an appraiser and I said, I can help you with this listing. We put in $5,000 and got him $30,000 more. Wow. Yeah. And we actually did faces on the cabinets because it wasn't worth to replace all the cabinets, but we had to get rid of the old oak, curved.
Okay, so you just swap out. Oh.
Yeah, so there's so many things you can do. So we help with that. And then also Ryan will go out, and if you want to do some type of upgrading. So we get a lot of calls like this where they want to do upgrading, but they are like, we have $20,000. What's going to get us the most value back? So we'll go in, and he's really good because he's like, your counter should cost you around $5,000. This should cost you this. So it's numbers, education, and he can help with like the design and the flow. So, and we help other flippers with that too, because if you're hiring like a design team, and most people don't have that within the budget, it's like, just hire us. We'll come out and give you some, some great pointers, and definitely ROI.
Is it right? So is that
Huge.
on your website, If Agents? Because I see a lot of value in that. And
yes, that is under Step Up Real Estate Solutions. We have everything under that. We have our YouTube information. We have our education, the appraisal company. It's just the kind of the one-stop shop. And I named it Step Up Real Estate Solutions because I want to step up the industry by educating the agents, by just educating even appraisers on working with agents, because a lot of them don't want to. They're like, just leave me alone. And so we're stepping it up, man.
Yeah, you're stepping it up, and you stay busy. It sounds like you got a lot of awesome stuff going on, and very good resource. This has been very informational for me, for sure. I learned a lot, and cool. So if you need any of those things, reach out to Michelle. Find her on Facebook, all these websites. And but I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day.
Yeah,
you're gonna go teach a
me
class
too.
now, right?
Yes.
So
yeah.
taking time out of your busy day to join me here on Real Estate Pros, and we will see you guys on the next episode.